Today, May the 19th, the third Dharma talk in this 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat. The other day, it was explained how each of the moment of being mindful, how each noting is very precious, as every time one notes the object and discern the nature, 8 factors of the preliminary path are involved in each noting. Today, I would like to explain from Samyutta Nikaya, Achara Sutta. So, in this sutta, we will learn how the Buddha replied to a celestial being when being asked by this celestial being. This celestial being who asked the Buddha, he was a monk in his previous life. As a monk, he was practicing meditation, aiming to achieve, aiming to attain arhatship. But during the course of practice, due to some sickness, the monk passed away and was reborn in the Tavadamsa celestial realm. First, he didn't notice that he was already in the celestial realm, thinking that he was meditating. He thought he was still meditating. But when he saw himself surrounded by 1,000 celestial ladies and realized that he had become a celestial being, he was very disappointed. What he practiced for was to attain and to become an arahat, but he didn't reach his goal, but died of this sickness that he became a celestial being. So he was disappointed and he asked the Buddha. He said, because it's a celestial realm, he said, where the celestial ladies singing, the place where goblins dwelled. Actually, it's a celestial realm, celestial, but because he did not think of this celestial realm highly, he did not think of it as high. He said it's the place where it is dwelled by goblins. It's where the goblins dwell in this Mohana. Actually, it is a Nandavana park where it is very pleasant, but he didn't think of it as highly. So he said Mohana instead of Nandavana. So he asked the Buddha how, in which way he could escape from this Mohana where the deities keep singing, where the goblins dwell. The first verse that Buddha replied, Uchuko nama somago abhaya nama sadisa rato akujano nama dhammachakehi sanyuto. This is the first verse that Buddha replied. Uchuko nama somago, meaning Uchuko means straight, upright. Somago, Somago is the 8 factors of the path. So when Buddha said Ujugo Nama Somago, meaning the 8 factors of the path that you practiced while you were a human being, it is straight and upright. Ujugo, uh, Ujugo, what it means by upright, straight, is that it is not crooked. Yeah, in order to explain it, what it means by crooked is there is crookedness in the body, speech, and mind. So the crookedness in the body means killing, stealing, sexual misconduct. These evil conduct by bodily action, it is bodily crookedness. Yeah, kaya vanga. Mm. The crookedness in the verbal action, that means lying, slandering, uh, backbiting, harsh speech, cursing, such kind of evil conduct by verbal behavior are the verbal crookedness. But in the 8 factors of the path, there is sila involved. With the practice of sila, the physical and verbal behavior has been kept clean through the practice of sila morality, and thus there is no crookedness bodily or verbally in the 8 factors of the path of practice. And the crookedness in the mind, they are this picha, covetousness, vyabhada, ill will, miccha ditti, wrong view. These 3 of the mental evil conduct, they are the crookedness of the mind. Not only these 3, but defilements, hindrances. These defilements and hindrances also make the mind crooked. So, in this way, mental evil conduct, defilements, hindrances, these are the crookedness in the mind. But the 8 noble path of practice involves samadhi, concentration. Having viriya, sati, and samadhi in noting the object, whatever that arises, pushing the mind onto the object, such as rising, falling. The mind, the noting mind being sustained, sticking onto the object, such as rising, falling. The mind falling calm, collected on the object. So, in this way, having viriya, effort, noting the object, pushing the mind onto the object, kilesa defilements are repelled, having viriya present. And having sati, mindfulness, the mind is guarded, protected. Having protection of sati, mindfulness, defilements cannot enter the mind. Having samadhi present, there is no distraction. So, in this way, having these viriya, sati, and samadhi, the samavayama, samasati, samasamadhi, defilements do not arise. And having the factors of panya, samma sankappa, right application of the mind being applied onto the object, aiming, directing the mind onto the object. One discerns the nature, the characteristic of the object that has been noted, such as when noting rising, discerning natures such as stiffness, tension, warmth, heat, cold, pulling, pushing, pressure, any of the nature that is obvious at the moment rising occurred. So in this way, having Sammasankappa and Samadhi, the very moment Panya arises, for that moment, Anusya Kilesa, latent dormant defilement, has been removed momentarily. So in this way, every time one is being mindful and discerning the object, 8 factors of the path are involved. There is no crookedness in the body, no crookedness in the speech, no crookedness in the mind. So in this way, Ujuko Nama Somako, this practice of eightfold path practice is straight and upright because there is no crookedness. So at each moment of developing the preliminary path, this preliminary path, Obabagamaga, even at the time of developing preliminary path, it is upright and straight. Abhayanam, sorry. So when one reaches the noble path, knowledge, it will be the eightfold noble path. When attaining the path knowledge, it will be complete. But now, as in the practice of Satipatthana, we have to be developing these 8 factors of the path as a preliminary path until we cultivate knowledge stage by stage until we finally realize Nibbana by attaining the path knowledge. And once we attain the path knowledge, Maganyana, the eightfold noble path, will be complete. Abhaya Nama Sadisa, meaning Nibbana is where there is no danger. Even though it is at Abhaya Nama Sadisa, it is a place where there is no danger. Literally saying it's a place where there is no danger. But actually, Nibbana is not a place, but where it is a state where all everything come to a cessation, that there is no danger whatsoever. So in Nibbana, there is no frightening danger of whatsoever. Rato Akujano Nama, meaning this carriage doesn't squeak or make noises. So the carriage here mean the uh, 8 factors of the path practice is here mentioned as carriage because it can lead you to reach Nibbana. So these 8 factors of the path practice is the carriage that takes to Nibbana. Normal carriages, when you travel, if they are not lubricated, if the joints are not lubricated, they make noise, squeaking, rattling noise. But these 8 factors of the path practice doesn't make any noise at all. Even many people have ride on this carriage of the 8 factors of the path practice, but it doesn't make any noise. But normal carriages, like if the passengers exceed the capacity of the carriage, if the carriage is overloaded, it makes noise. But In these 8 factors of the path practice, there is no such thing as being overloaded because many beings attain the supramundane knowledge when listening to the teaching of the Buddha. When the Buddha preached, 84,000 beings might achieve uh, attainments in the very same moment. But this Eightfold Noble Path doesn't get overloaded or crowded. Sometimes countless number of beings get enlightened within the very same moment. But this Eightfold Noble Path, being right by these beings, doesn't get overloaded, doesn't get crowded, but many attain Nibbana by this Eightfold Noble Path practice. So, in this way, this 8 factors of the path practice doesn't make noise, doesn't squeak, or doesn't rattle, even if so many beings, countless number of beings, ride on this carriage and attain the Nibbana. And the last one of the verse, uh, for the first verse, is Dhamma Cakke Hi Sanyutto, meaning this carriage of 8 noble path practice has the 2 wheels of Kayika Viriya and Cetasika Viriya. So Kayika Viriya is the effort it takes to have this posture, sitting meditation. It takes Kayika Viriya. In order to do walking meditation, it also takes Kayika Viriya. And Cetasika Viriya, there needs to be mental effort that the mind should be pushed towards the object of meditation. It is the mental effort. So, in this way, the 2 wheels, Kayika Viriya and Cetasika Viriya, these 2 wheels on the carriage. If one is lacking Kayika Viriya to do walking meditation, sitting long hours without doing walking meditation or very few walking meditation, Kayika Viriya to do um, walking meditation is lacking, and this can um, hinder the practice. So one must do uh, both sitting meditation, walking meditation. Walking meditation for a longer hour, lacking Kayika Viriya to do sitting hour also is not good. So as a yogi, one must do sitting meditation, walking meditation, so as to balance. So that's why Kayika Viriya is needed. In the walking meditation, there involves double effort. In order to lift the foot, one needs to make effort, Kayika Viriya, to lift the foot, and at the same time, Cetasika Viriya, the mental effort, pushing the mind onto the object of lifting. So, in this way, in the meditation practice, there both need to be Kayika Viriya, Cetasika Viriya, in the sitting meditation, in the walking meditation, as well as daily activities. So, in the meditation practice, just as you need to make effort to be mindful in sitting meditation, walking meditation, you also need to take care to make the effort to be mindful when you are transitioning from one posture to another. After you finish sitting meditation, when you are about to get up, when you hear the bell, hearing, wanting to get up, when you get up, arranging your hands and legs, you have to do them slowly, mindfully. Just like a sick person, a yogi has to move slowly like a sick person. Just like a sick person, because the person is sick, can only move slowly. As a yogi, in order to keep pace, in order to be mindful, to keep pace with the actual movement, yogi has to move slowly so that he or she can follow and be mindful of the actual movement. So when moving the hands and legs, you move only one thing at a time. When arranging your hand, arranging your leg, to move one thing at a time so that yogi can be mindful. Bowing down, being mindful, standing up from sitting position, being mindful, standing mindful, wanting to turn, turning, be mindful. So when yogi is switching from one position to another, be sure to be mindful of all these movements. So it is that even though the posture changes, but the momentum of mindfulness and concentration should be kept uh, consistent. Even though you change the posture, the mindfulness and concentration should be kept persistent. So, just as making effort to be mindful in sitting and walking meditation, it is just as important to make the effort to be mindful in daily activities. When you walk from one place to another, always keep the hands collected at the front or at the back, not to keep the hands hanging down. If the hands are hanging down, swaying, then the attention will not be on the foot that is making the step. In order to avoid it, even though if you are going from one place to another, or if you are walking out from the dining hall, be sure to keep the hands collected in the front or at the back and keeping the eyes down so that one doesn't get distracted with what one sees. Looking here and there, the mind can get distracted. The mind will not be on the object that should be noted. So, in this way, as a yogi, it is important to keep the eyes down, pay attention to the step when walking, uh, also be mindful of the daily activities. Our teachers taking care that our teachers taking care that the yogis make progress in the practice. They check whether yogi is mindful when going from one place to another or during sitting meditation, walking meditation. And our Sayadaw also check uh, when yogi is going from one place to another or in the Dhamma hall. Sayadaw also check whether the yogi is mindful or not. And when Sayadaw sees a yogi not mindful, Sayadaw will point out at that very spot where the yogi is not mindful and say, be mindful. Remind the yogi to be mindful. Once an overseas yogi was explaining his experience in forest center where he was practicing. One day he said he was going from one place to another And Sayadaw saw him unmindful and then reminded him to be mindful. So he said what he thought in his mind, that he wanted to put a poster on that tree where it happened, that Sayadaw had to remind him to be mindful. He said he wanted to put a poster, be mindful, CCTV. He just meant that Sayadaw was checking that yogi is mindful or not. So he wanted to remind the other yogi to be mindful because there is a CCTV. So this is how our teachers uh, try to keep up the progress of the yogis for the yogis' benefit, so that yogis will reach the goal of meditation. So this is how grateful we should be to our teachers who remind us always to be mindful in sitting meditation, walking meditation, daily activities, so that it will be faster to reach the goal in the meditation. So as the yogi practices uh, with effort, when the mindfulness and concentration become continuous and strong, yogi discerns the nature of the object, such as when noting rising, as the noting mind is concurrent with the actual rising, yogi discerns the nature such as stiffness, tension, warm, heat, cold, uh, pulling, pressure, and so on. When noting lifting of the foot, when the mind is concurrent with the actual lifting, noticing pulling, lightness, and so on. In this way, when mindfulness and concentration are continuous and strong, yogi come to notice the nature, the characteristic that is obvious in the object that has been noted. And yogi also discerns distinctly between mind and matter. When noting rising, it is stiffness or tension, and the noting mind that knows it as rising. When noting lifting, yogi come to know that there are only two things. Lifting, that is obvious as either lightness, pulling, and the noting mind that notes it. There is no other thing. So when the yogi come to notice that whatever object that he note, there is the materiality, which is obvious either as stiffness, tension, warmth, heat, cold, pressure, pulling, fluidity, and so on, and the noting mind that knows it. So at that very moment of discerning that there are only two things, the object, which is obvious as stiff, tense, and the noting mind that knows it, which is mentality, there are these two things, nothing else. There is no person, no being, uh, but the object, the materiality, and the noting mind that knows it. So in this way, yogi discerns knowledge into mind and matter. By cultivating knowledge into mind and matter, one removes the wrong view of Sakaya Ditti. One removes the wrong view of personality, wrong view momentarily at the moment of discerning distinctly between mind and matter. So this is the very first knowledge that arises in the practice. And it is very precious because only through the Satipatthana practice one can discern knowledge into mind and matter. Samatha practice cannot attain this knowledge, but only through this Satipatthana meditation one can attain this basic knowledge into mind and matter momentarily at the moment of noting the object. And it is the foundation. As the yogi notes onwards, yogi come to discern cause and effect, and then impermanent, suffering, non-self. So in order to cultivate knowledge stage by stage, yogi has to make the effort to be mindful every moment in the sitting meditation, walking meditation, and daily activities. From the moment one wakes up until one falls asleep at night, throughout the day, yogis should be mindful moment by moment, one after another, second by second. Saraji always remind the yogi to be mindful moment by moment, one after another, second after second. So time is up. We will continue the next day. So may the yogis able to make effort in sitting, walking, daily activities to be mindful so that may they be able to attain their goal of meditation smoothly and fastly.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.